Okay, we might make a start. Everyone's seated, ready to go. Welcome everyone to tonight's meeting of the Urban Planning Delegated Committee. Before we commence the meeting, I request that all mobile telephones be turned off or switched to silent. Thanks very much. My name is Councillor Westgold and I'm Chair of this committee. I will start by introducing my fellow councillors. Seated to my left is Councillor Jim Park, Councillor Felicity Sinfield, Councillor Nick Stavro, Councillor Lisa Hollingsworth, our Mayor, Councillor Di Gillies. At the other side of the horseshoe table, Councillor Cynthia Watson, Councillor Jane Addis and Councillor Susan Bigger. I acknowledge our Manager, Governance and Legal, Mr Brian Wee on my left-hand side and the Director of Urban Living, Mr Scott Walker on my right. There are other officers here tonight and they'll be introduced as they present. So, for a general introduction, the Urban Planning Delegated Committee meeting is being live streamed on the Council's YouTube to enable public viewing this evening. The meeting is also being recorded and will be made available again on the Council's YouTube as soon as practicable after this meeting. The primary purpose of the Urban Planning Delegated Committee is to deal with issues under the Planning and Environment Act and the Building Act. This committee has delegated authority to make decisions on behalf of Council. For those presenting this evening, when it comes to the item on the agenda, it will be introduced by an officer. I will then call you one by one, I think this evening it's only one, to come forward and address the committee. If you are making a submission, please present your viewpoints clearly and concisely on why you support or oppose the planning application. Please do not repeat anything that anyone else has said. If you're opposing the planning application, please tell the committee why you disagree and suggest an alternative approach that would satisfy your concerns. Please focus on your concerns rather than matters of history or details in the officer's report. There is a strict 3-minute limit for each speaker, including councillors. And whilst as chair, I can vary this time, I seldom do. At the 2.5-minute mark, I will ring a bell, indicating you have only 30 seconds left to conclude your presentation. For those in the gallery this evening, I would like to take this opportunity to remind you to extend due courtesy and respect to each other and to the committee as a whole. This includes remaining quiet while others are addressing the meeting and not disrupting the decision-making process of the committee. And to finish this general introduction, I would like to encourage all submitters, officers, to speak directly into the microphone. This will ensure that everyone can clearly hear the discussion. Moving to apologies. Mr Wee, are there any apologies this evening?
Through you, Chair, Councillors Franco and Thompson, our apologies this evening.
Adoption of the previous minutes. Councillors, can I have a motion to adopt and confirm the minutes of the Urban Planning Delegated Committee meeting held on the 20th of May this year? Councillor Stavro.
So moved, Councillor Gold.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Sinfield.
Happy to second.
Thank you very much. Is anyone opposed? I put the motion to the vote. Those in favour? Anyone opposed? I think I've already asked that. No. The motion is carried. Conflicts of interest. Councillors, council officers, are there any conflicts of interest that you wish to foreshadow for the matters on the agenda this evening? There are none. Thank you. We can now move directly to the body of the meeting tonight. 3.1, 697 and 699 to 701 Burke Road, Camberwell, a 12-storey mixed-use development, consideration of consent proposal for VCAT PP 23/0321. Tonight we'll start, the officer's presentation will be started by Scott Walker, and then we'll move on to Aileen Chin to present the officer's position. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. I thought it was
appropriate to explain a little bit about the background and process to bring us to this point for this application, because there's a little bit of complexity that goes along with that. The proposal that you are considering this evening has undergone a number of amendments and changes throughout the planning application process that has ultimately led to a proposal which is supported by the applicant, objectors that are a party to the VCAT matter, and also council officers, and hence the report to you this evening. The application was first lodged with council in May last year, and following an initial assessment, a request for further information was issued to the applicant on the 2nd of June 2023. The further information was not ultimately satisfied until the 21st of October last year, and that was after a number of requests by the applicant to extend the time frame for submitting that information, and also meetings with council officers where officers outlined many issues of concern with the proposal and explanations around why those concerns were being raised. So it was not ultimately until late October last year that we had a complete application that was able to be considered and assessed. Advertising of the application commenced in November and extended through until mid-December 2023. And there were a number of objections that were received, primarily by the adjoining property within the aerial building. And officers commenced finalising the assessment of the proposal in late December. The applicant was aware that due to the Christmas New Year period and the complexity of these types of larger mixed-use proposals, that the application will be determined in mid to late January, and the applicant appeared to be accepting of this. However, the 60 statutory day period for the application ended on 11th of January 2024, and an out of time appeal was subsequently lodged to VCAT, the Victorian Civil and Administrative Tribunal, on the 12th of January, the next day. Officers finalised their assessment and subsequently advised all parties that had a decision been made on the application, it would have been refused. And those grounds are outlined within the report. VCAT then set a formal mediation for the proposal on the 27th of March 2024, which ultimately did not result in a mediated outcome, and a full hearing date was subsequently confirmed for the 24th of June 2024, and that date is still set now. However, following the VCAT mediation, the applicant negotiated changes to the proposal with the joint objector party from the adjoining aerial building. So all those objectors got together and were a joint party to the VCAT matter. And those negotiations ultimately resulted in changes which addressed the concerns of the objector. Formal amended plans were then submitted at VCAT. So by formally amending those plans, that locks in the changes that the objectors were seeking at any subsequent VCAT hearing. So certainly addresses those as a party at that VCAT hearing. It was then later discussions with council officers that led to additional amendments which form the proposal before you this evening. And so that means that if you support this amended proposal this evening, there ultimately will be no VCAT hearing. I'll now hand over to Eileen Chin, Principal Urban Planner, to take you through the proposal and the recommendation.
Good evening, councillors. The revised proposal before council is a mixed-use development of 12 stories. The development comprises the following key components: ground floor retail and shops, office floor area from levels 1 to 5, 36 residential apartments from levels 6 to 11, within a mixture of 2, 3 and 4 bedroom apartments. There is also rooftop communal terrace and facilities, and a total of 214 car spaces are provided across 4 levels of parking. Having regard to the strategic objectives of the Camberwell Junction Structure and Place Plan, March 2024, the proposal makes a significant contribution by providing for a housing contribution with diverse offering of apartment mixes plus commercial floor space, offering employment opportunity in the heart of an activity centre. There is high-quality architecture and an urban design outcome with active frontage and 148 square metres of publicly accessible space within the street setback. The proposal should be supported having regard to its resolution of off-site amenity impacts and considerations with regard to the adjoining aerial development, incorporating a transition down in height from this building. The sole objector party within the VCAT proceedings has consented to the revised proposal presented this evening, and the revised proposal is considered an example of an exemplary development within its site context, effectively resolving and balancing numerous complex and conflicting design aspects while providing a notable contribution to the public realm. Thank you.
Tonight, one person has indicated they wish to make a submission and have indicated that is in support of the recommendation before us tonight. Before I call that submitter to the table, I'd like just to remind you that there's a limit of 3 minutes on your presentation, and you need to start with your name and suburb, and it might also be useful to indicate if you represent a larger group of people. So I call forward Mr. Batra to join us at the table. Thank you very much.
Good evening all. My name is AJ Batra and my suburb is Port Melbourne, I'm the ownership entity and the permit applicant representative here before you today. Firstly, I'd like to start off with thanking you for your time, allowing me to speak. I'm here to confirm that we're accepting of the proposal before you today, which allows for a deletion of a level and effectively without prejudice settlement with council. This has come by way of an extended negotiation with the neighbours, the permit, obviously council's representatives, experts, but most importantly, it's been a process that's been going on for almost 2 years. We had our first pre-application meeting for half of the site almost 2 years ago, and we've been in discussion with councils in terms of the requirements that they seek for this site, and we've tried our best to reach that outcome by way of going through the numerous iterations of the plans. Whilst obviously deletion of a level is not an optimal or a maximum outcome that we would have liked, it does obviously avoid a lengthy VCAT proceeding. And we also like working with Boroondara. We've been developing Boroondara for a long while. I used to go to school in Boroondara, so it is close to home. So ultimately for us, it's an outcome that the neighbours are happy with, and obviously a vote tonight, council is happy with, and something that effectively we can all live with and ensure a good outcome is placed on the site. Something, as Aileen mentioned, is an exemplary outcome from an urban design and proposal perspective. Thank you again for your time, and I'm open to any questions if you have any to answer about the proposal.
Councillors, are there any questions of this submitter tonight? There are none. Thank you. You may return to your seat. Now I'll return to the officers for matters of rising, but none have really arisen, I don't think. Do you want to say anything further tonight?
Chair, no, there's nothing further to be added.
Councillors, have you got any questions of the officers? Councillor Gillies.
Not a question, thanks, Chair, but to foreshadow a motion.
Thank you. Councillor Sinfield.
Thank you, Chair. Just one quick question. I'd just like to be satisfied that the community and the objectors have had every available opportunity to attend this evening. It's quite unusual that a matter of this size doesn't have anyone other than a representative of the applicant appearing.
Thanks for yourself, Chair. Absolutely, there have been discussions with the adjoining objector party, and they are well aware of the proposal before you this evening. They have essentially locked in the changes that they were seeking through an arrangement with the applicant, and the applicant has formally substituted those plans to VCAT. So objectors are satisfied, and that is locked in irrespective of the decision you make this evening.
Sorry, Chair, a follow-up. So I understand that the majority of the objectors are in that objector party that have come together, but are there any others outside of that group who may have missed the opportunity to be part of this conversation tonight?
Through yourself, Chair, there are 3 other objector parties that are actually some distance away from this site, so they're not immediately affected by the proposal, but they were also advised of this meeting this evening.
Thank you.
Councillor Addis.
Thanks, Chair. This is just a minor query. Point 13 in the conditions, number of car parking spaces. I just wanted to check the wording. I suspect it's correct, but must be provided on the land without the written consent, is that? I'm just having trouble understanding exactly what that means. I think it could be right, but I'm just not sure.
Through yourself, Chair, the wording is, as you point out, perhaps a little bit unclear. It could be absolutely shortened simply to a minimum of 214 car parking spaces must be provided on the land to the satisfaction of the responsible authority would actually be clearer, I think.
And the mover could seek that to be simplified, should that be in the mind of the mover? Yep.
Correct. It works okay as it is, yes. However, could be a lot simpler and straightforward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hollingsworth.
Thank you. Mr. Walker, just wondering if you're aware of if this application was supported this evening, if the applicant's in a position to proceed with the project in a reasonable amount of time, given the fact that this has been in deliberation for 2 years?
Thanks, Chair. Through yourself, we're not able to confirm that the applicant would immediately commence the proposal. That's something that we actually don't have detail on or information on. However, we understand through the negotiation process that there is a genuine intent to get a proposal and a development that is able to be delivered on this site.
Thank you.
Councillor Bigot.
Yes, thank you. I also have a sort of small question, but it's on page 64 of 170 or 52 of 70 of the report. It's just a question about, it's about the standard and this overlooking. It relates to where we might condition these 3 apartments, 801, 802, 902. And it just that it says that the standard does not require screening of direct views between balconies on the same level of private open space where it is not located directly below the dwelling from which overlooking may occur. So then are we saying that the apartments where there's a problem are just, it does apply because they are directly below one another? It was just a little bit, I was not clear exactly what the breach was here, potential breach. Do you want me to clarify my question? It wasn't that.
Through yourself, Chair, perhaps if we just go to the specific clause again.
Yes, so it's 52 of 70, or it's clause 58.04. It's about internal views, or 64 of 170 is the other page number. And it's basically, it just seemed to be saying that what the standard, that it doesn't require, doesn't require screening. But then we go on and say, however, these apartments may not comply. So I'm presuming that we're talking about 2 different things in those paragraphs. Given that this was the one area where we're going to condition it potentially, I just wanted to understand what exactly we're conditioning, potentially.
Through you, Chair. The question in relation to internal views and overlooking is a separate standard. For Clause 58, which this application is subject to, there are no strict screening tasks in relation to overlooking into existing private open space and habitable room windows. In this particular regard, the Clause 58 standard D15 is in relation to internal views only, and there are some elements where this may potentially be achieved for the 3 apartments that have been mentioned, and they occur directly from the front of the building. So just to allow for those residents to have privacy where they have a balcony immediately above them and may potentially overlook more than 50% of their balcony private area. Thank you.
So if I may, so you're just saying that we're unclear yet whether or not that's the case, but if there's a potential to allow them that privacy, then we would condition it so that they were allowed that.
Through you, Chair. So they're required to meet the standard, correct?
Okay, and we just don't know yet whether or not it does.
Correct.
Okay, thank you so much.
That appears to exhaust the questions. Councillor Gillies, you indicated you wanted to move a motion.
Thank you, Chair. My motion that I'm putting forward will be the officer's recommendation with the slight amendment to item 13 that we've just raised to read, yes, a minimum of 214 car parking spaces must be provided on the land to the satisfaction of the responsible authority. Yes.
You happy with that now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Hollingsworth.
Yes, happy to second, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone opposed? No. Councillor Gillies, would you like to speak to your motion?
Very briefly, thank you, Chair. Firstly, to thank the officers and the gentleman who came in to present to us tonight for the work that they have put into this. This is, at the end of the day, a mediated outcome. It addresses the matters raised by officers and objectors, which, as we all know, can take some time to work through. To see all parties satisfied is a credit to them all and has resulted in an amended proposal which sits before us now. In supporting this outcome, Council would be demonstrating its ability to participate collaboratively in reaching a balanced result. In keeping with our now Council-approved Camberwell Junction structure plan. So on that note, I commend the motion to my colleagues. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Hollingsworth, do you wish to speak?
Very briefly, if I may. If I may, I just wanted to echo Councillor Gillies' comments and again commend the applicant working with Council. The increase of the 34 car parks and the increase of the residential apartments is an excellent outcome for the community, and also with the improved sensitive interface to the connecting properties. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Gillies, is there anything else you want to say?
No, thank you, Chair.
Terrific. I'll now put the motion. Those in favour? Is there anyone against? I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. We can move straight on to general business. Councillors, are there any matters of general business to be raised tonight? None? Urgent business, are there any items of urgent business? I understand there are no items of confidential business tonight, so I shall move to close the meeting. Before I close the meeting, I want to thank all of you who have joined us this evening, and I declare the Urban Planning Delegated Committee meeting closed. Thank you.